What is up, everyone? Welcome to Gray Mustache Studios. We're going to skip the intro video and go right into a full video for you guys. We're going to start off strong. We have our digital Super 8 camera built specifically for GMS, specifically for our couples and our weddings. I think it's going to be a great project, something that's going to bring a lot of value, not just to weddings, but being able to mess around with it and not really have to worry about film. And that's the number one thing. Film, as much as we all love it, as much as we love the nostalgia, it can get expensive really quick, and it can be really hard to practice with, especially when no one around here develops Super 8. You gotta ship that out, and especially for a wedding day, sure, it costs $150, $200 to get done, but shipping out someone's wedding footage, that in itself is terrifying. So that's kind of where this whole project started. It was building a camera from the ground up that gave you that feeling of film from the hardware side too. Not just slapping a filter over top of footage that you already have. That's not going to cut it. So we really built this out to be specific to emulate film as much as we possibly can. So we'll get into it, a little bit of the hardware, software, and some sample footage at the end. All right, so the main components, we're starting off strong with the lens. It's the Schneider Cruisenac 8-48 f1.8. It is a D-mount lens. It was originally for Bolex cameras, but it was easy to adapt right to CS mount. The flange distance is almost identical between CS and D, which worked out really well. I ended up buying two. The first one, I didn't realize the mount over the years has been changed. I couldn't even tell you what it was at this point. That is one of the challenges with trying to find a vintage lens to start off your footage with that vintage feel. It's hard to see what you're getting because most people selling it, especially on eBay, they don't know what they got, so you're kind of just going off of photos. I think in the end I got this one for right around $250. All in all, it's still in great working condition. You do get a little bit of vignetting on the footage when you convert it from the D to the C, but overall it's not that bad. And once we're getting it into post-production anyways, we're cropping down a little bit to get that 8mm gate going, so in the end you don't really notice the vignetting at all. Internally, it's running on a Raspberry Pi, NVMe storage, air-cooled. We'll get into a little bit more of that later once we open it up. Other components, we're running 5V, 5A directly from this V-mount battery. Raspberry Pis are very finicky when it comes to power, especially when you go to the USB-C. If you don't have that power delivery handshake, it does not pull 5 amps and it will not run. The same camera, same everything, same programs, running it into the USB-C would not work. Slice that right off, and I just went right into those GPIO pins, and it's delivering full power directly to the camera. You will get the warning on the front saying it's not getting 5 amps, but checked with a multimeter beforehand. It is, and all the footage is turning out perfectly. We're getting the full frame rate that we're expecting, so no amp drops as soon as we start. And then we have the V-mount battery running right on the bottom. Easy, quick change if you run out of battery right there. You do need to make sure when you're running DTAP that you do connect it properly, otherwise you will fry it. But that is the one nice thing about running a Raspberry Pi and everything internally in this. It is on the cheaper side, so you don't have to worry too much if you do break something. This is actually the second board and the second sensor that we're running on this, along with a whole litany of other items that we've bought throughout the last 4 months building this out. But now that we're kind of dialed in, it's easy to adapt and change, and anything that breaks is quickly buy it on Amazon, change it out yourself. You're not too worried about it in the end. Just a standard button on top. It was like a 6-pack from Amazon. Again, right into those GPIO pins, wired up. Internally, there is a USB mic, mostly just for scratch audio. but it gives you a little something, so you kind of have some ambient sound going with it. You do pick up a lot of the noises from the camera itself because there is a bit of space on the inside, so you are going to pick up the noise of you clicking the button, things like that, but really not that big of a deal. We do have the battery connected to the Raspberry Pi for the real-time clock. That's the nice thing about the Raspberry Pi 5 is that it has that built-in RTC. All you have to do is connect a little button battery right to this connector and it works. So once we're off of Wi-Fi, all of our timestamps are real. We have the WaveShare QLED screen on top. I'll have that link below, along with a bunch of the other stuff that we have that we talked about. That'll be linked below for you guys to look at. That was right off of Amazon as well. Super simple, nothing crazy. On the outside, we have something fun called Cat Tongue. Comes in, you can either get small sheets or you can get 10-foot long strips. I got the 10-foot long roll. Wrap that around, super grippy. It hasn't come off at all since I put it on. Really nice, gives the camera a little bit of more of a professional look over the just plain plastic that we've been working with, but gives me everything I need. And then just simple screw eyelets on the side right into the plastic, so I can attach whatever strap I want. Easy, holding up pretty good. The case itself is custom 3D printed. This is the 6th iteration that me and my friend Colin have been working on. I'll have his Etsy page linked below, and we printed this with the Bamboo Tough Plus. So that'll give us, if it does drop or anything, it won't shatter like a lot of PLAs. Now for the program itself. This by far took the longest time. I'm more of a hardware guy. I'm not gonna lie, I did have AI help me write this code. It's not what I do, but got it working, took some time. It is custom Python code running on top of your standard Raspberry Pi, which is something I wanted to do to make sure that if anything goes wrong, those files are backed up in, I think, 3 places at this point. Just redo your Raspberry Pi OS, slap them back on, and you're good to go. You get all of your updates. There's nothing that has changed any of the base settings, so you don't have to worry about messing anything up. And at the end of the day, if you really wanted to, you could still use this as a regular computer. That is the nice thing about it, is any changes, super easy to do. All the coding I was able to do on the Raspberry Pi itself. I didn't have to go back and forth, so I was coding and testing at the same time. You'll see in the top left that we have the audio levels that are always adjusting. They do freeze once you start recording. Same thing with the screen itself, that will freeze as well, but only while recording, just so you're not trying to run 2 streams at the same time. In the center, we have our record button, and once you press the record button, it will flash, just like anything else, kind of give you some sort of indication you're recording, with a little timer that pops up underneath. Ran some custom math to figure out how much space we have left. These files are pretty big. We'll get into what it's actually recording in a little bit. But if this is a 250 gig NVMe, give or take, I think there's about 180 gigs left on it right now, and we're only getting about 20 minutes. So that shows how big of the raw files that we are trying to record. We have the 18 to 24 frames button. That was another big thing. I wanted to make sure that we can record in 18 frames a second, which is what Super 8 recorded in. That's one of the biggest differences between recording on any other camera and recording on this, is you are getting true 18 frames a second. So you're really matching that film look with that little bit of lagginess that you see, that you notice, that has that kind of nostalgic feel without being too jittery. But you always have the option to just go back to true 24 frames. If you're recording anything else, you can always update that. ISO button in the middle, super simple, 100 to 800. I think we're skipping 5 and 7. Didn't want to go too much farther over 800. It is a smaller sensor. It's 12 megapixels. It's the HQ sensor from Raspberry Pi. but didn't want to push that too far and get too grainy of footage. Then we added in a simple focus peaking. It just kind of picks up on some of the edges. It's nothing too complex. It's not the best, but it helps, especially when you're manually focusing. But with Super 8, you're not really getting the sharpest of footage anyways, so it's not that big a deal if you're slightly missing your focus, as long as it's close enough. And like I said before, the stream behind will freeze, but that's the nice thing about having the viewfinder built into the lens. As soon as you start recording, you can just look right through that to keep your framing. And for what we are recording, this is recording in RGB quadruple 8, 8888, however you want to pronounce it. That is going to get as close to raw as we could without just having raw sensor dumps. It was a challenge to find something that PC could handle and convert that wasn't Raspberry Pi proprietary. A lot of the bare sensor data was kind of proprietary to Raspberry Pi. It's 2028 by 1520, so it's right around that 2K mark, just a little bit over, which is perfect. That's right about what Super 8 film was. Super 8 film got you around 10 to 11 stops. We're getting somewhere around that 12 to 15. It depends kind of what your conditions are. Audio wise, it's 16-bit, 48 kilohertz, nothing too crazy, but it's simple. It's just mono. But again, just something to have in it. And all this is recorded in a separate file in the metadata, so you get your full, what your actual frames per second was, to make sure that everything's running right. You get all the data built into that. Those 3 clips are just in one folder. All the folders, we do have it set up that delete a folder, you keep your numbering, which is great. All of that transfers over onto PC. PC takes that, reads the metadata, adds in the audio, and it converts that to ProRes 422HQ, which is perfect for editing. And it's pretty much, we kept everything as high quality as we could throughout, within reason. Like I said before, trying to do raw bare dumps is just not gonna work. And then it didn't make sense to try and record in any sort of Blackmagic RAW or anything like that, because at that point you're compressing right in camera and then everything would get bottled down. This kind of keeps the camera free to dump as much as we want. We can get up to around 30-35 frames if we want to push it, but 24 is perfect for what we're doing. And the best part is you can do, in the Python software on PC, you can do batch conversions. You can just pick the same folder, all of them in there, and it'll batch convert all of them. To get everything over to the PC, super simple, because we're running a Raspberry Pi, we just connected it with as a network drive. Transfer it right over, right as a network drive. You get around 20 megabytes per second, which is plenty fast, and then you don't have to worry about trying to unplug, move memory cards around, things like that. Everything is stored directly on the NVMe, so it's both safer and faster than trying to run any sort of SD or micro SD. The end product, it's a lot closer to film. You're getting a lot more of that natural highlight roll-off that you're used to seeing with film, and that's kind of the big difference between film and digital, is that roll-off. Where film, you get smooth transitions, and digital, especially if you're going with some of the cheaper alternatives to film like digital, you're just kind of getting digital noise. You're not really getting film, you're just getting early 2000s crappy digital. So this was as close to film as you can get. You get a bit of that character from the lens, especially when you're zooming in and out. You kind of get that elements changing inside the lens look, which is something that you can't really emulate anymore, because frankly cameras are too good, especially lenses. They're sharp. If you can't produce a sharp image in this day and age in a camera, you're doing something wrong. But every now and again, it's good to kind of go back and maybe not have it be as clinically sharp. Everything with cinema cameras and cinema lenses, it's all about character, and this is purely character. It's getting the cleanest footage we can to give it as close to the characters we're looking to get as possible. We still have to add a bit of a gate weave, the Super 8 gate that I talked about before, a little bit of flicker in there, not too much. Some of the film grain, because it is still digital, so you're not going to get the proper film grain. If you start getting grain in it, it's just going to be digital grain. And there is a LUT on it, obviously, to get it a little closer, but nothing too crazy. And it is a custom LUT that I created specifically for this footage because it is so unique. So here's a quick kind of before and after shot of recording a bit. Like I said, it's not that big of a difference. You do notice a difference, but that footage beforehand, you can tell, is a lot closer to film than if I were to record this on the FX30 that I'm recording on right now. So what's next? Well, now it's just experimenting. Now it's shooting. I want to do some sort of short film with it type deal, like a found footage. Haven't fully fleshed out the ideas yet, but now that I have it, I can kind of do whatever I want with it. I'm not constrained by how much film I can get, how much film I can afford. I can play around with it and learn. That's the hardest thing with film, is it's hard to learn, because you look at it and you're like, all right, this is going to cost me $200 to do 2 minutes of learning. Where this, I can go out and shoot every day with it. Footage sucks, just delete it. What does this mean for you guys? That means content. And for anyone looking for a wedding, I'm based in New Jersey, you can add this to any package. Really looking to do this as more of just a highlight package. So this would be on top of your regular packages. You'll get about a 2.5, 3 minute highlight clip, all Super 8 footage exclusive from our Super 8 camera. And then that footage will be added into your full doc as well. We'll have a link to our website below. Reach out to us if you're looking to book your wedding. Have any wedding questions at all, let us know. Comment below. All the components will be linked below. We won't have the program itself linked. Right now it's still kind of in beta. I don't know if I'm going to release that yet. But once you have all the components, try and make it yourself. It's not that hard. So I'm going to go see what I can create. You do the same. See you next time.